Hello everyone and welcome to yet another video by Mr. Febby at Febby's Tutorials. We were looking at fractions the other day and we promised Angel that we would help her learn how to add and subtract fractions. Remember, we help you grow wings and fly. Hello Angel. Hey Mr. Febby, how are you? I'm good. What about you friends? Are you all good? Are you all set to learn how to add and subtract fractions? Angel seems to be all set. I hope you are too. Before we do that, let me ask you this question. Do you remember what are the different types of fractions? Mr. Febby, I went through the videos on YouTube and believe me friends, they are simple. They help you learn better. So if you've forgotten any of your concepts, just go on to youtube.com/@Mr. Febby and you'll see our videos there. They're simply amazing and has helped me a lot. Thank you, Angel and friends, for subscribing to us and following us on YouTube. We will leave a link to the first video on fractions in the description below. Let's look at how to add and subtract fractions. So when we begin, we need to learn how to add and subtract like fractions. What are like fractions? Like fractions have the same denominator as you see in this question, 2/7 add 3/7, or another question where 4/9 take away 2/9 is given. Now remember, whenever we add like fractions, the denominators are the same. So in the answer, the denominator does not change. So in the first and the second question, if you look at it, the denominators are not going to change in their answer. In the first question, we simply add the numerators. So we get 2 plus 3, which is 5, and then 7. The second one, we are taking away or subtracting. So 4 take away 2 is 2, and the denominator is still the same, 9. Remember guys, do not add the denominators. In like fractions, the denominators are the same. It will remain the same. It's the numerator that gets added or subtracted. It does not matter how many fractions you have. If they are like fractions, you can simply add or subtract them as per the questions given. Yes, in certain cases, you will have to follow BIDMAS or BODMAS. That's for a different video. Here are a few questions for you to try. Remember, it does not matter how many fractions you have, simply add or subtract. That was easy peasy, Mr. Febby. I have already got the first answer. The first answer is 6/7 because 4 add 2 is 6. And I keep the denominator the same, which is 7. For my second answer, I think I should be getting 2/9 because 4 take away 2 is 2 and the denominator remains the same, 9. For the third one, I am going to get 12/13 because 4 add 2 is 6 and 6 add 6 is 12. And for the last one, I get 10/24 because 12 take away 2 is 19 and 19 take away 9 is 10. Am I right? Absolutely correct. Here are 2 challenge questions for you, Angel. Let's see you do that. If you want to pause the video, please do so, friends, and you can give it a try as well. So Mr. Febby, I am going to take the same concept and the method, and I'm going to simply add and subtract them. So in my first question, it's 4 add 2, which is 6, take away 6, which is 0, add 4, so that should give me 4, and the denominator remains the same, so it's 4/23. In my second question, it's 11 take away 2, which is 9, and then add 6, which should give me 15, and the denominator remains the same, so 15/17. Am I right? Absolutely. Now here's a question for you, Mr. Febby. How do we consider this question? It's a mixed like fraction. What do we do? That is easy. The concept remains the same, Angel. We just need to adjust a bit. Now, do you see those two whole numbers which are given in white? So you simply add them first. So I get 10. So 4 add 6 is 10. And then I simply go ahead and add the numerators, keeping the denominator the same because they are like fractions. So my end result is going to be 10 13 over 23. It was easy, wasn't it? Here's one for you to try, Angel. So Mr. Febby, that was very straightforward. 3 add 6 is 9, and 2 add 4 is going to give me 6, and the denominator is going to be the same. So my answer is 9 6 over 5. Am I right? Perfect. You are correct. So now we need to look at how to add and subtract unlike fractions. Now, unlike fractions are a bit tricky. Not too much, but it all depends on how we understand things. There are few methods to solve these questions, and then once we go through it, you can choose the method you want to follow. Now, it also depends on the question type that you get. Let's have a look. So here's one of the questions, and here's method number 1. If you look carefully in this question, there are two fractions. 2 over 7 add 3/14. The larger fraction is 14 as the denominator, and the smaller one has 7 as the denominator. So in this case, we know that 14, which is the larger fraction or larger denominator, can be found in the times table of the smaller denominator 7. So we do not touch the fraction with the larger denominator. Let me repeat that. We do not touch the fraction with the larger denominator. Now, this is applicable only if one of the denominators goes in the other's times table. So in this case, 14 goes 2 times in 7. So we use the method we learnt in equivalent fractions to change the first fraction. We will leave a link in the description below for you to follow how equivalent fractions are done. So in this case, we times the numerator and the denominator by 2, because 7 times 2 will give me 14, and 2 times 2 will give me 4. So my fractions change something like this. So I get 4 over 14 add 3 over 14. Remember, I have not touched the fraction with the bigger denominator. And now that we have got like fractions, as we learned earlier, we simply add them and we get 7 over 14. Yes, there is something called a simplification, which we do have to learn, but that's for another video. Here's one for you to try, Angel. Remember, addition, subtraction, still going to be the same as long as they are made into like fractions. Yes, what I do is I do not touch the second fraction as it has 32, which goes 4 times into 8. So I first multiply the fractions 4 over 8 with 4 in the numerator and 4 in the denominator, because whatever I multiply in the denominator, I have to multiply the same number in the numerator. So I end up getting 16 over 32 take away 2 over 32. Which gives me 14 over 32. Yes, Mr. Febby, I have heard about simplification, but I think we should clear our basics first. Here's another type of question. Now here is the second method that has to be followed. If you look at it carefully, the denominators are totally different, 4 and 7, and neither of them will go in each other's times table, will they? 7 doesn't go into 4's times table. It doesn't, unless you don't know your times table, which I'm pretty sure you do. In this case, we need to find the lowest common multiple. What? The lowest common multiple? Hold your horses, Angel. It is very easy. Let me explain that to you. The lowest common multiple is the smallest number that two or more numbers have in common. It can also be called as the first number that all the numbers in the question above have in their times tables. For example, if the denominators are 2 and 9, the lowest common multiple is 18 because that is the first number or the smallest number that 2 and 9, both these numbers have in common in their times table. If we take 5 and 6, the lowest common multiple is going to be 30 because that is the smallest or first number that both 5 and 6 have in their times table. It can have 60, but then that's 5 times 12 and 6 times 10. But 5 times 6 is 30 and 6 times 5 is 30, which is smaller than 60, and that is the first number that we find as common in both their times table. Here's a tricky one. If we take 10 and 8 as the denominators, my lowest common multiple is going to be 40 because 10 times 4 is 40, 8 times 5 is 40. That is the smallest number that I can find as being common in their times table. If we take 6 and 4, the lowest common multiple is going to be 12 because 4 times 3 is 12, 6 times 12 is not 12. 6 times 2 is 12. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we use the method we learned in equivalent fractions to convert the fractions into a fraction which has a common denominator. Let's have a look. So in this particular case, 3 and 8, 9 and 7, 5 and 11, 4 and 12. Can you try finding the lowest common multiple for these? Pause the video and give it a try. Alright, that seems easy. 3 and 8, I get 24. 9 and 7, I'll get 63. 5 and 11, I've got 55. And 4 and 12, I've got 24. Am I right? Not really. Why? Because 4 and 12, you have a number 12. Remember the method that we learned in the initial stages? So 4 goes into 12 3 times. So your answer 24 is incorrect. It has to be 12. Great. Now let's try doing this question. Add and subtract the unlike fractions. Give it a try. Alright, Mr. Febby, I'm going to give it a try. So the LCM is going to be 28 because 4 times 7 is 28. And then I will multiply the first fraction with 7. Why? Because 2 times 7 is 14 and 4 times 7 is 28. So I need to get 28 in the denominator. In the second one, I will multiply the numerator and denominator with 4. Because 3 times 4 is 12 and 7 times 4 is 28. So I will get 14 over 28 add 12 over 28, which is 26 over 28. Am I correct? Perfect, Angel. You got this. Here's a challenge question for you. Try doing that. You threw one at me. Yes, Mr. Febby, I know how to do that. I'm going to find the LCM. So 5 and 12. The LCM is going to be 60. Then I multiply the first fraction with 12. So I end up getting 12 times 2, which is 24. And the second fraction I will multiply by 5. That should give me 20. And then I will add the whole numbers, 3 and 6. So that should give me 9. And when I finish my answer, it should look something like this. 944 over 60. Am I correct? Perfect. So I hope, guys, that you have understood how to add and subtract fractions. All you need is practice. Remember, practice makes perfect. Yes, Mr. Febby, that was great help. I'm going to practice and become a master at this. Alright friends, we are taking your leave for now. We will soon be back with a video on how to multiply and divide fractions. Bye for now. Hello friends, we at Febby's Tutorials help you grow wings and fly. We will put more and more videos in the days to come, helping you learn simple concepts. Yes, there are other methods of doing it, but what we're trying to do is do our bit to help you grow wings and fly. Till we meet again, adios.